Hi drivers, this training video is for the majority of the fleet that has this style unit where the buttons are here at the bottom. This is an older style unit, and this is what most of our trucks have. So if this is the unit you've got, this will be what your system will look like once we do the ELD switch. So I'm starting here from the beginning from login. You'll log in the exact same way you do now with the same driver ID and password. Your driver ID and password are both the same. Once you tell it to sign in, it's going to prompt you to do a couple things just like it does now. It's going to prompt you to do a DVIR, select a duty status, and update your trailer and shipping information. So when you log in, it's going to look like this and tell you how much drive time you have left today. You'll tell it next and next. It's going to prompt you to select a duty status. I'm just going to go to sleeper berth. Then it's going to prompt you to do a current shipment, which this will either be your current bill of lading number or your current shipper and commodity. It's going to already have saved in here whatever you had previously. You can easily just hit remove if that's no longer correct and type in whatever your shipper and commodity is. Tell it done. And then you'll hit add, and that highlighted in blue. Then you tell it next. Then it'll ask if you want to keep the same trailer. Again, this is the last trailer that you had, which I just obviously made a trailer up. If that's still the trailer you have, you'll select yes. If it's not, you'll select no. And it'll look just like the shipments, and you can change it. So now it'll prompt you to do a DVIR. You'll just tell it no defects and hit save. So now you're logged in. This is what your home screen's going to look like. Very similar to what you're used to. Your navigation, messaging, those things will still be the same. So you'll do your check calls the same way via messaging. You'll hit messaging, create form. Here's all of your check call forms. Arrived at shipper, loaded, arrived at stop. All of those. You'll do them the same way just by tapping on them. Tell it okay. Scroll down to dispatch. Tell it okay. Send now. That's exactly like what you're used to. The main thing that's going to be different, obviously, is here, your eDriver logs. So this is what your driver overview is going to look like. This here is going to be red if you have no drive time available like it is right now, or green if you've got drive time available. So it'll tell you how much drive time you have available. So it will actually, if you have a full 11, this will show 8 because you can't drive more than 8 hours without having to take a 30-minute break. So this will never show more than 8 hours. Once you suffice that 30-minute break, it will readjust to whatever drive time you've got available after that. Up here it shows what driver is logged in. Obviously this is the trainer. The current duty status and when you made that duty status selection. And when you'll get time. So we're in sleeper berth. The trainer needs to take a 10-hour break. So it's going to tell us right here that at 7:32 p.m., which is 9 hours and 20 minutes from now, we will have done a 10-hour break and we'll be able to drive again. Change status is where you'll do duty status changes. These are your duty status options. You'll notice this does look a little bit different. You've got on driver. This is simply on duty. On not driver is a button for teams, so all of our fleet can just disregard this button. You'll never use it. SB is sleeper berth. On YM, this is on duty yard movement. So what this selection will do is it will allow you to move the truck without it taking away from your 11-hour drive time, but it does put you on duty. So it is going to tick your 14 and it is going to take from your 70. So be advised that if you use this option, it does put you on duty. Off-duty PC, notate that if you select off-duty PC, it's going to require you to add an annotation. So anytime you use PC, it's going to require you to explain it. So you can put whatever, getting to safe haven, or going to eat, or, you know, whatever reason you're using PC, it will require you to notate when you do that. And then off-duty sign out. Anytime you want to log out of this unit, this is the selection you'll use. It'll put you off-duty and it'll sign you out of the unit. This is going to be especially important to get used to in the event that you are leaving the truck and there's a possibility that somebody might move it. So if you leave it on our yard and one of our mechanics might move it to pull it in for a 60-day, or you take it to a shop to get work done and they might take it on a test drive, anything like that, you'll want to make sure you sign out before leaving it. Now, you don't need to sign out every day or anything like that. Only if you're leaving the truck and there's a possibility that somebody who's not you will move the unit. Because if you're still logged in and your truck is moved more than 5 miles per hour, it will log driving time against you, and we can't fix that. So make sure if you're dropping it off at our yard or at a shop for repairs, that you go ahead and hit this off sign out. You'll notice that there was no driving option, there was no off-duty option, and there was no buttons like fueling, loading, and unloading like you're used to seeing. There's no driving button because once you move this unit 5 miles per hour, it's going to automatically put you to the drive line, so you'll never have to manually select drive. The off-duty option is actually right here. It's rest break, so you can use this for any time you'd go off duty. For a 30-minute break, a 2-hour break, a 10-hour break, anytime you'd go off duty, you can just come here, select rest break. It'll ask if you're sure. Of course, you'll tell it yes. Now this button has turned red for stop break. Okay? If you are just going to take off driving like you just stopped for a 30-minute break, you can just take off driving once you're done, and it will automatically put you to the drive line. If you're going to have to go on duty to fuel or do a pre-trip or something like that, you'll hit stop break, and it'll prompt you to select a duty status here, and you could go on duty or whatever it was that you needed to do. Driver options. What this button is for is a couple of things. If it's orange, that means there are things that you need to review. Unidentified driver. If this button is grayed out, it won't let you select it because there's no unidentified driving events that need to be tended to. If it's orange, that means that somebody has moved the truck while you were logged out, and you need to notate what that time is for. So if it's orange, you'll select it. It'll pull up in like a list. You'll tap the event of unidentified driving time, and it'll ask you if you want to accept or reject that time. If you accept it, it'll put it on your drive line. If you reject it, it'll ask you to either annotate why you're rejecting it, or it'll send me a notification to annotate why you're rejecting it. So you could put test drive at shop or mechanic moved truck, etc., so that time is notated, but it doesn't count against you. If the review logs button is orange, that means that you either have logs that need to be certified, or that I or somebody else in the office have made an edit that you need to review. For instance, if you call me and say, Kelsey, I've been on duty for 3 hours and only meant to show 15 minutes for fueling and then go off duty, and you need me to change that, I can go in just like we do now and make that edit, but then you actually have to approve that edit for it to show up on your logs. So this review logs button will turn orange. You can tap it. Again, just like the unidentified driving events, it'll show up in a list. And if it's red, that means that it's an event that was edited by somebody in the office. You'll tap it. Again, it'll say accept or reject. You'll accept, and it'll make that edit on your logs. Roadside inspection. This puts you in roadside inspection mode if an officer wants to view your logs. This is very, very important because this is where you can do, they can physically view your logs. They can see the grid. Here's today. They can use this arrow and they can backtrack from your last 7. They can tap events and it's going to pull up in a grid and they can see every duty status change and any annotations. And then if they want you to send the logs, they'll do data file transfer, select email, you'll type in their email and hit done. The cool thing about this mode is it prevents an officer from viewing anything else inside your PeopleNet. So they cannot see check calls, dispatches, messages, navigation, none of those things, because when you're in this mode, if the officer hits this home button, it prompts a password to continue, and that's your password. So they cannot go view anything else in the unit. So that is a really cool protection mode that it has when you are in roadside inspection. So you'll put in the same password that you use to log in, and then it'll take you back to your home screen. Again, this would only be once you were done with your roadside inspection. Logs, this button here. This is how you can view your logs. Again, here's your grid for today. You can tap with this arrow and you can view your last 7 days. Events is just like this. You can view any duty status change you've made. If it's green, that means you've made the duty status change. If it's red, that means it was an edit made by me and you need to go in and accept it. So this is the events view and this is the grid view. Details is simply the carrier information. Now, if the certify button like this pops up, it means that we need to certify these logs. You will need to certify your logs every day. So what I would do is pick a time, be at the end of the day or the first of the next day. Say you want to make it the first of every day. So you wake up and you're ready to do your pre-trip inspection and get your day started. You can go in here, go to yesterday, hit certify. You type in your password. Again, this is the same password that you use to log in. Tell it done and agree. And then you've certified that day and that button goes away. Resources. This is where you'll add your trailer ID and your shipper information. So right now you do this via the load button. This always has to be current. So anytime your trailer or your shipper and commodity change, you need to come in here and you need to edit that information. So just like when we logged in and it asked about our trailer, this is where you would come change it. You'll hit trailer. You'll type in ET, and I'm just making up a trailer. Tell it done. Add. If it's highlighted in blue, that means that's the one you're selecting. You hit done. Now your trailer information is updated. Shipments is the same way. Pilgrim's Chicken, if that's current, you just hit done. If that needs to be changed, you'll hit remove. Type in whatever your current shipper and commodity is. Tell it done. Hit add. Now it's highlighted in blue. And you tell it done. Now your trailer information and your shipment information have both been updated. Obviously, you'll never change your vehicle ID because you'll always be in the same truck. Add driver is if you had a co-driver. Obviously, we don't have any teams, so you won't ever really mess with that. That's the logging portion in a nutshell. It really is very similar to what you're doing right now. I do like I've said, if you go to rest break or sleeper berth, it's going to count down your time here for you. So instead of you having to remember exactly when you went to off duty, it's going to tell you right here that at 12 a.m. we'll have completed our break and we'll get time left. The one thing that you need to keep in mind is always remember that if you move this truck more than 5 miles per hour, it's going to log it as driving, and there's no way to change it. So if you need to PC, you need to make sure you come in here and select PC, add your notation, getting lunch, or whatever it is. Tell it done, and then submit. Because if you select PC and you don't do this and hit submit, and you take off driving, it puts you on the drive line. So that's the biggest thing that you really, really need to make sure you pay attention to. So your home screen will just be this. The other way that you can get to your roadside inspection mode is obviously right here. You'll select roadside and it'll initiate the roadside inspection mode just like it would the other way I showed you. Again, if they hit home, it'll prompt you to put in your password. So you can get to inspection mode 2 ways. That way from your home screen, or again here from your driver options, okay? If you want to do a pre-trip inspection, which you know you've got to do every single day, you'll come here to eDriver Logs, change status. You'll go on duty. Then you'll go back to your home page, which it won't change like this on you. It just won't let me take that home page off, so I apologize. You'll only have this default home. So once you go on duty, you'll come back to your home page, and then you'll select driver, inspections, new, pre, and this is exactly what you're used to seeing for your DVIR form. Any defects found, yes or no, and save. And now you've done your pre-trip inspection form. All of the rest of these buttons are still the same. Back in the eDriver Logs mode, you noticed before that those buttons like fueling, unloading, those kinds of things that you're used to having now are no longer there. If you want to notate what you're doing while you're on duty, then what you'll do is you'll go here to Logs, you'll hit Events, you'll scroll down and find the duty status that you want to make a notation for. So it'll show every duty status change, every time you certified your logs, every time you did a pre-trip, etc., etc. But if you want to add a notation, you simply tap it, hit annotate, and then you can add whatever notation. Fuel. And now it's on your logs. If you go back down here, it shows that you did a pre-trip and that you fueled. Anytime you make a change like that, you do have to recertify your logs. Which again, if you're certifying your logs the next morning, then you don't have to worry about that. And there you go. So that's how you add your annotations in. Really, it's extremely similar to what you're used to. It just looks a little bit different. I think that if we just get used to making sure we log out anytime we leave the truck and somebody might move it, making sure that we go to PC and add our annotation and hit submit, or making sure that we're aware that anytime we exceed 5 miles per hour, it puts us to the drive line. If you keep those things in mind, this is not going to be much different than what you're already used to. I hope this helps give you an idea of what you're going to be looking at. Also, I think this will make any sort of hands-on training that you want to do a little bit easier.